what to expect, even right the way through to if it's your first run or walk. Okay, what Lisa's got a huge understanding of and a great understanding of is what it takes to get started and to overcome the odds. So it doesn't have to be a question if any of you are thinking about doing the solo ride or run. It could be literally it's your first walk and you've got some questions about that. She's got experience across the board. Rachel?
Yeah, I have one. I'm not actually doing this race. But Lisa, what's your favourite mental technique to use when the body, it's not so much the body giving up, but the mind's like, come on, there's something out of here. So what's your favourite?
That's a really good question. Is it Rachel, is it? Yeah, it's, there's a couple of... Yeah, I do. A couple of techniques. G'day, how are you? A couple of techniques that I use on a regular. One is what I call like disassociation. So when I'm in deep shit somewhere and everything's in the body's screaming at me and yelling at me to hurt and hurting, I try and go off to my happy place, which is, so if I've got like I'm writing a book or I'm renovating the house or I'm doing something, so I've got something in my head that's taking me away from where I am. So it's, visualizing somewhere that for you is pleasant and calm and trying to disassociate from where you are. One of the techniques that my crew used to use, like Neil, for example, when we're in like Death Valley and places like that, they would come out when I was in trouble. They'd have to gauge where I was, but they'd come out and they'd start telling me just the stupidest stories, funny stories, anything to sort of divert your attention from what you're actually experiencing right now. So it's learning to get out of your mind and sort of let the body's doing its thing and it's going through the motions, but it's taking your mind to a different space, if you like. Another sort of a trick is doing the exact opposite, and it's really, really checking in with your body every few minutes, like to do, this is like association, where the other one was disassociation. This is like really checking in. Is there a reason why I'm in so much pain? So checking, going through your checklist. Have I hydrated in the last few minutes? Have I had my wonderful electrolyte tablets from Hammer Nutrition? Have I had my BCAs in the last 2 hours? All of those sort of good sort of stuff that you need to be checking in with and just seeing that you haven't forgotten, because one of the dangers with disassociation is that you can go off so much into your happy place that you forget to hydrate, you forget to eat, you forget all those things. One of the tricks I do now is like set my clock, my watch every 15 minutes to beep at me to remind me to have a little sip of something if I'm doing a really long race, or have a little nibble of something. So it's keeping a constant flow of food and water coming in and not just dumping it on top. So as far as any other mental tricks, in the build-up, in the training phase, one of the real key things that I'm really big on, and you would have all heard this before, but visualization. There have been races where I've been injured before and I haven't been able to train and it hasn't been the ideal build-up. But if I've spent the time in mental preparation, actually preparing for the battle that's ahead and actually visualizing myself successfully doing that, and I mean really getting into the nitty-gritty, this is where you can become Superman or Superwoman, because this is your own fantasy, this is your own visualization. You can put on your Superman cape and be running, like Usain Bolt through Death Valley, if you like, It's all in but it's teaching, when you imagine things and when you visualize things, your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and what's just imagining. So it's teaching itself. So like if you're trying to learn an instrument, just going through in your head the chords on a guitar or something, your brain will be teaching your body to do that. And it's the very same thing with visualization. If you're visualizing yourself actually succeeding at Triple Peaks Challenge and actually you feel it, you see that beautiful Tomato Peak or that start line, and you feel the energy of the people around you, really get into the details of what you're going to experience, and this is your dream, like I said, so you can do anything you like. So, yeah, these are three sort of little tips to how to get through. Another one that I use is about giving yourself little rewards. And this one I really learnt when I ran through New Zealand, and I did 2,250 Ks in 42 days. And when I was standing at the start line, I was this complete and utter terrified. I was just like, oh my God, what have I done? You know, this was all very good on paper, but now I actually have to go and run it. And I was feeling like an elephant had sat on my chest, you know, as I was looking down the barrel of this 2,000 plus kilometres. And I remember going over to my mum, who was in the crew, and having a wee bawling session. I seem to do that a lot, Neil? Do a lot of crying. And I went over and I said, oh, Ma, I'm terrified. I don't think I can do this. I've bitten off more than I can chew. And I was absolutely having a panic attack, you know. And she just really gave me the best piece of advice, and something that I've used over and over again. She says, stop concentrating on the 2,000 kilometres. Start focusing on getting out of the gate. Let's go for the first power pole. Let's go for that first half an hour. Let's get through to lunchtime and see what. Don't look too far ahead, in other words. So the more pain you're in, the closer that goal's got to be. And it might be just getting to that power pole over there, and then I'm going to bend over and I'm going to stretch a little bit, or some little reward, or I'm going to go and have a wee break in 10 minutes time, or whatever that little break is to get you through to that next place in the in your mission without losing the plot, if you like. Because it's that, if you can just get through that hard time, what often happens is that your mind changes or your situation changes, and then, you know, that pain that you were in 10 minutes ago might have gone, you know, and it can happen in these super long races. And, you know, doing something like Triple Peaks, you could be in deep trouble already 10 Ks in, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got another, or if you're doing the run, another 40 odd Ks to go. But it doesn't mean it's all over. If you can just get a hold of your mind and know that each hour will bring its challenges, but in each hour those challenges will pass and you'll carry on through. Does that sort of make sense? Am I sort of, getting a few nods there? So I hope that sort of answered the question. And I did just want to mention Rachel's products. I'm not paid by Rachel. I'm not paid to say this, but they are my favourite products. They are my go-to products. They're ones I put all our athletes at Running Hot Coaching on if they listen to us, is especially the Enduro Lights. I'm not big on the gels, and I'm not big on the artificial sort of like, you know, Powerades and all that sort of crap. That's full of chemicals, full of rubbish. All you need is the good stuff, and that's what's on those tablets, and that's what I like, to be able to just have my bases covered. And, you know, in times like now, if you guys are training hard in this heat that we're having at the moment, you have to make sure you're taking your electrolytes now, not just on race day, because then your performance will start dropping if you start to lose your potassium, your sodium, your magnesium, and all that sort of good stuff. So really highly recommend, getting onto those ones. Another one of my favourites from Hammer is branched chain amino acids, and I take those. They help flush out the lactic acid. They help. They're like the building blocks of protein, aren't they, Rachel? Yeah. So they give you, like having the steak without having the steak. So if I've had a hard training session, I come and have a couple of BCAAs, I'm more likely to be able to recover faster for the next day. And during the racing, it can actually, when you're racing for days on end, which sometimes I've been doing, it can mean that the following day you recover quicker and better if you've had that, because you've got those building blocks, if you like. So, yeah. Any other questions there?
I've got a question.
Emma's got one for you, Liz.
Okay. Hi, Emma. How are you? Good, mate. How are you?
Good. Now the people who are here tonight, a lot of them are runners. There's a couple of mountain bikers as well. But I just wanted to ask you about the distance they should be training in the lead up to the day. So it's looking likely that it would be between 50 and 56 Ks on the day.
50 and 56, yep.
Yeah.
It's a
in the background. Now, so in terms of the quantity of training they should be doing leading up to it and tapering down, could you give us a bit of information and advice around that?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of a hard question to answer blanket, Rach, because it's you're dealing with a whole gambit of abilities, obviously, and we have different systems of training. Neil will be able to tell you that at Running Hot Coaching, we aren't all about just collecting kilometres, right? So we're not so if you get a training plan from us, you aren't going to get a training plan that's just got mileage in it. So you don't need as much mileage as you'd possibly think you would. Okay. But for something like a 50 to 56 kilometre mountain race, I would be saying that you need to be running 4 to 5 times a week would be ideal. You don't need to be running any more than that. You need to have at least one long run a week, which you'd all know, your long, slow training session. Say that's on a Saturday, and I quite like to back up with back-to-back trainings so that the next day is also another relatively long, not as long. Can you guys hear me still? Yeah. Cool. So that you're running on tired legs. So if you don't get anything else in your week, make sure you get that long run in, because that is crucial. That time on the feet, the body starts to know what it's like to be running long. Now, if this is your first, say, 50K, you don't have to go out in training and run a 50K, okay? That's number one point. In all the races where I did like 200 and plus kilometres, that was an impossibility. I couldn't go out and run 200 kilometres in my training build-up, and it was never, ever necessary. If you can get to the half of what you're normally, like half of what you're doing in a race, then that's plenty. Because what you'll find is that on the day two, you pull out things that you never thought possible. But to give you a bit of a range, okay, of kilometres, I would say that you should be at least doing 45 kilometres a week and up to 80 kilometres a week. You don't need to be doing anything over that unless you're really at the elite end of the field and you're going for top time. So if you're just wanting to get to the finish line, between 40 and 80 kilometres is plenty, okay? Or 40, 45 kilometres is plenty a week. So break that down into, you know, three sessions maybe during the week, 6 to 10 kilometres. One day will be your interval training, a little bit of hill training. And then you've got, in your weekends, you've got your back-to-back ones, or at least doing one long one. You don't have to do every weekend back-to-back, but if you can get a couple in your training build-up, that would be really, really good. What we're also really big on at Running Hot Coaching, and this I cannot stress enough, I've seen so many runners' careers finish early because they've got some sort of injury when they didn't need to. They just needed to go and do more mobility work. And I'm sure if you're in Neil's gym, he's drilled that into you guys, that the importance of mobility work. So when I say that, I mean the likes of yoga, Pilates, stretching, using black roll products, so myofascial release products, foam rollers, stretching out the hips, making sure that your hips, your quads, your IT bands are all nice and loosened up from foam rolling. If you have a high training volume and you're not doing mobility, you are looking at injuries somewhere along the way. You've got to be able to recover those muscles, stretch them back out, and give them a chance to recover. So what I like to do is just like at least 10 minutes a day, rolling around in front of the TV at night time on the foam roller, doing my stretching, doing some yoga every day. And it's a really important, I can't stress enough how important that part of the equation is, okay? The other thing that we love to see our runners doing is functional strength exercises. Now, this doesn't have to be in the gym with full-on weights. This can be with just like resistance bands and push-ups and squats and lunges and the likes of that. But two strength training sessions a week, okay? So daily mobility, 2 strength training sessions, and between 3 and 5 runs a week. You should not be running 7 days a week, okay? Does that sort of give you a bit of a, you know, like, because I'm talking to elites right through to first-timers, it's a little bit hard to give a on-the-nail, do this many kilometres for this run, okay? So I hope that was a bit of a guideline. And, yeah, we'd love to help train you if you're keen on that, but it's not far away now. So, yeah, any other questions there?
A long run should always be on hills.
Okay, I'll point that around there.
Yeah,
you
sorry.
say a bit like
Should the long run always be on hills, or can you sometimes do a long run have a flat long run?
Yep, yeah, you can. I would change it up. I mean, because you're going into a mountain run, like it is a very hilly run. I wouldn't go a complete flat long run. I'd make sure that you have some hills, but you might want to build one long training one where you're going up Tomato Peak or somewhere really intense, and then another day where you're just doing some smaller hills. You can also do your hill training during the week if you like, and your shorter runs and stuff. So it doesn't have to be all. But the thing is, you want to have maybe 3 or 4 of those big long runs on the terrain that you're going to be running in, or similar if you're traveling to it, okay, as close as possible. What I would also suggest is doing some walk, run, because some of those hills are so steep, only the top dudes are going to be running them. So you need to be able to train your walking muscles as well, and for most average ultramarathon runners, of which I was always one, I had to do a lot of walking was involved in it. So just don't forget that. Don't forget, because it's a completely different muscle group. So you might want to change one of your long running days out for a long hiking day with a backpack. Perfect training. Doesn't impact you as much, but trains a different set of muscles as well. Yeah.
For your weekly long run, how long, perhaps as a percentage, should it be of your normal training during the week?
Oh, gosh.
As you can, or
sorry?
Should it be doubled, or as long as you can go?
Yeah, so it should be, well, you should have a training plan, and there's one on the Triple Peaks website that we've already prepared. So if you want to go and download that will give it exactly week for week. So you're building up typically, okay? So each week it's getting a little bit longer until you hit the taper phase, maybe 3 weeks out, and then it starts coming back down again. I would say, Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know what the top one is that you put on that training plan, but 35K should be your max training session. And that should be 4 to 5 weeks out, okay? You don't need to be going any longer. Sorry, Neil?
You want to just make sure you're cycling it as well. So a lot of what we recommend is there's some sort of periodisation to it, so that you're not running big every single weekend. So to say what percentage of it's it's a great question, but it's a tough question. Yeah. You want to, depending on where you're at, if it's someone's first ultra, we'll often start them on an easy week followed by a hard week. Easy week followed by a hard week, which will include a lot of walking. If you've done a couple of ultras, we then move you up to doing a periodisation over a month of 2 hard weeks, week off, 2 hard weeks, week off. And those that have got more experience, we do a cycle of 3 big weeks, followed by a week off. Yeah. And in those 3 big weeks, you'd have one which would be high volume, and the other 2 would still be long, but they're going to be shorter than that one big one. So percentage-wise, if you look around the room, we're all different shapes and sizes. So it's a great question, but a real tough one to ask. If you're really looking after your body and looking after yourself, you want to make sure you've got the right program firstly, and then you're cycling it so that you're cycling it based on your abilities. Either hard week, easy week, 2 hard weeks, 3 hard weeks. And there's definitely recovery in there, because if the recovery's not there, the other bit to add in, if your recovery's not there, that's when you're going to get better. You're going to get better in bed, you can get better when you eat well, when you sleep well, when you hydrate well. You're not, although it sounds counterintuitive, you're not going to get better when you're out on the bike, and when you're running, you're actually going to grow and develop when you're in bed and resting and recovery. Yeah. So don't miss that bit. Get the rest and recovery in, and I wish I could answer the question, but I'd struggle to, because to say that it needs to be 50% longer or 40% longer wouldn't be doing you justice. I'd like to know, I think Lisa says the same.
Yeah, personalised. Yeah, that's where the personalised stuff comes in.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Any other?
Sorry, Neil. Carry on, mate.
Just saying, any other question?
Supplements?
Oh.
Supplements during the week or prior to runs?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question. So apart from Rachel's good stuff, I am always on a good omega-3. Be Pure stuff's really good if you got local guy there, Ben Warren. I'm also on like glucosamine and chondroitin. I have a good magnesium. I'm a bit of a supplement geek though, so I actually, if you saw in my cupboard, you probably have a heart attack. I've got a whole lot of stuff in there, and it seems to keep me from hitting the deck. But so yeah, I really would get into coenzyme Q10 is another one that I'd list in there. So vitamin omega 3s, coenzyme Q10. Your magnesiums would be really important, or your electrolyte tablets, and glucosamine, chondroitin, good for the joints, just to keep them lubricated. Just trying to think of anything else. If you're in heavy training, a good liposomal vitamin C would be good too, just to keep your immune system from hitting the deck. Something that we're really also very passionate about, Neil and I, is not letting our athletes get into adrenal exhaustion. We're seeing it more and more and more, especially with the rise of ultramarathon running, and having experienced this myself, completely driven myself into the ground and then gone, holy shit, things aren't working like they used to. We try to avoid that. So it's learning to gauge where your overall stress levels. You've got a bucket where you can put stress in, and your training is a part of that stress. So if you're getting stressed in your relationships or at home or financial or work or kids or whatever, or health, you're not getting enough sleep, and then you go and put on a heavy training regime on top of that, guess what's going to happen? Something's going to pop, So it's keeping because we've all got lives and we've all got, jobs and stresses. None of us are professional athletes anymore, or we don't have the luxury of just training and doing nothing else. We have to take that into consideration, because if we start pushing our adrenals to the nth degree and we start getting, knock-on effects with hormones, with thyroid, with your kidney and liver function, a whole lot of gambit. And believe me, I've been there and I've done that and I'm doing that, and I'm having to pay the consequences of not paying enough attention to my body and pushing it too hard. So it's a matter of pushing to the limits, but not beyond the limits. That's the difficult tightrope walk. Yeah.
Any others?
In terms of training intensity, so not so much mileage, but how much of that training should be done at race pace and how much should be easy?
Well, I'll pass that to you, Neil, because that's,
Again,
it depends.
Again, a great question. It'd be very much goal driven. So if you, in the first question I asked you about, if you're looking at, are you doing the full distance?
I'm not this year, but will be next year.
Okay, so it'd be cool to sit down with you afterwards and go, right, what's the goal time?
Yep.
And then we'd work backwards from there. So then the percentage of runs that were done at race pace will be dictated by that. So obviously a program that's put together for someone that wants to finish, no expectation on time, will be very different from someone that says, I want to get through it in 5 hours. If you want to get through it in 5 hours, then there'd be a lot more interval-based training, both on flat and hills in it. A lot more focus on driving your cadence, taking your cadence up so that your foot strike is high. That's going to get you more speed. And then from there, we'd look at a series of tempo runs, which would be varied around your race pace, and then 8% of your runs actually at race pace, which would go up over the course of the program. So the first question would be, what's your expectation time and on time, and then we can work our way backwards from there.
And it's completely opposite to someone who's doing their very first ultra and just wants to get across the line. Then there wouldn't be a heck of a lot of intensity training in there. So now,
so if you let us know the goal time, we can work back. Well, that's the fun part. Working backwards.
And it's especially good if you got a year's, like next year's goal. This year's going to be a bit close, but next year's goal, you can definitely go for broke by then.
Chafing. What do you
Great
do?
question.
What do you do to avoid it?
Based on the stories, because I've got some great ones I'm going to tell about you.
I haven't. Well, just any sort of, what are they? Good sport. I think I don't even know the names. I don't actually get that much chafing problems. So just lubricating up with the good creams, getting them under the boobs, down your backside, wherever it's going to, in between your legs, all of those sort of good spots that you're going to have trouble with. I used to get massive problems with backpacks So I've got scars all over my back from chafing there. And at the end of the day, I just put a whole lot of sticking plaster over it and pads before I went, so that I didn't get that problem. So yeah, it's just trying to work around it. Obviously good wicking clothing that takes the sweat away from you, and not letting yourself overheat or get too cold would be logical.
Another thing, just to add on from a mountain biking perspective too, sorry, just to butt in, obviously chafing still applies, but just practicing carrying your bike as well, and even putting pads in the right place. Like I've done the road races before at Carapace and Trinity Peaks, where you actually put padding on the top tube of your bike where it rests on your shoulder, or just practicing carrying your bike up Middle Ridge on Tomato Peak again and again, because there is obviously carrying your bike in places. So yeah, just a few things that apply to mountain biking as well.
The other thing I'd add in is treat your clothing like your food. So don't do it new on the day. So your clothing, backpacks, don't go, that's my backpack's just for race day. You want to break it in, nail it, and do everything you're going to do to it on race day. In training, so anything like shoes, shorts, undies, anything you're going to wear, just
well worn.
Yeah, make it well worn and test it, because if it breaks down in a long training run, you're definitely going to have issues on the day. So either then look at another option or something you can do to prevent it.
On that point, blisters, chafing blisters, make sure your shoes are big enough. Something you see quite a lot is you go into your shoe clinic or wherever you get your shoes, and they fit in the shop, but a woman, especially when we're doing long distance racing, our feet swell considerably, and then the shoes are too small, and that's where you get most of your blisters from. So like in multi-day desert stage races, I'd wear shoes that were 2 to 2.5 sizes bigger than my normal shoes. But for something like Triple Peaks, I'd definitely have them at least half a size bigger than you'd normally, so that you've got that room to breathe, and to before it, because otherwise they swell and then they get really tight, and that's when you get the blisters happening. And there's lots of good socks around now, from Right socks to Steigen socks to Injinji were one of my favourites, where you got the toes, the 5-finger socks, stop the rubbing in between the toes. But yeah, so I think that's about all on that one.
Any others?
Tapering.
Who's excited?
How important is tapering?
How important is tapering, Liz?
How important is tapering? Super, super, super crucial. Super crucial. So really, in the last 3 weeks, you really got to taper down according to the program, once again, depending on your program. But there is no use making up for lost training in that last month. It isn't gonna do anything except screw you. So if you've had a bad build-up and you've missed some training, well, stiff bickies, that's what it is. Do a lot of mental preparation in that case, and you make sure that your mental game is on target, so that you've got yourself really wired in, that you're prepared to walk over hot coals to get there. And then you'll probably make it. You'll be in a lot more pain than if you'd trained properly, obviously. But the taper is crucial, that in the last 3 weeks you don't try and go and make up for it, and you back down the volume of your training, the intensity of your training, and you should be getting to the start line feeling slightly undercooked, slightly like, I could have done a couple of kilometres more. That's the ideal state that you want to be in. You don't want to be in over training, because then you're going to have a crap race. So about peaking at the right time, okay? So just to give you an example, for the last week, and Neil's more of a numbers man, so he'll be able to work you down through the last 3 weeks, how much you drop off, once again, according to your goals. But in the last week, the last 3 days, you shouldn't be doing any running. You can go for a little, light walks. You can do a little bit of swimming. You can keep your body ticking over, but not hard training or anything over at least the most half an hour, maybe 3 days out. Okay, so the last 2 days is really just about rest, recovery, sleep, good nutrition. No, I'm not into carbo loading. Don't believe in it. I think it ends up more trouble. All I used to do is take eat a little bit more in the days leading up. So like just add an extra 10% to your daily intake of good nutrition, not a whole pile of pasta or some crap. I think that's if you want toilet troubles on the day, stomach upsets and things because you've overloaded with carbs and stuff, yeah, that's a good way to do it. So yeah, pasta parties and stuff the night before, maybe not. Stick to what you normally eat. Don't vary it too much, and make sure that's of high quality, unprocessed as possible, good nutritional food. Yeah.
So you're dropping, like, say you had a 100k week, that was your top, coming back like 25% and then 25%. That kind of
so as an hour-wise, it's depending on where you're at. It's so say you're running a big run, 5 hours. That might drop to 3.5, and then from there to 3.5 into somewhere between 1:45 and 2:15 hours-wise, and then down to a 1:45 or 1:30 the week before.
Yeah, but 25% is pretty cool.
Yeah. Again, very, very. You want to individualise it and look at what the
sure.
done, but yes, in answer to your question, thereabouts, sit down, be a sensible man.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you can get, like, some trainers and some coaching systems, they're very, very pedantic, run 3Ks at this pace and another K at this pace and another K. I don't think that unless you're going to the Olympics, I don't think it actually brings you anything, and it takes away from the enjoyment too much when it's too statistically controlled, I think listen to your body more. Trust your instincts. You know when you're being lazy or not being lazy. You know when you're just making excuses, or when there are days like with some of our athletes, the biggest problem we've got is they've got their program and they're sticking to it religiously, regardless of whatever happens in life. And that's not a good idea, because it's better to look at the plan and go, well, that was the plan for the week, but then the kid got sick and I, had this happen at work, and not stress that you didn't get that last 5Ks in or that last whatever. It's not going to make the difference. It's not going to make the difference. It doesn't all have to be statistically written and to the nth degree.
I just sent a blog for this week's article on the paper, Lisa, to Emma this morning, and that's a great look, guys. As you leave today, there's a sign up on the wall just on the right-hand side as you go up. The list of checkpoints on that is a great way to be thinking at the moment. So there'll be a checkpoint on how well have you slept in the past few days, how well have you hydrated, how well have you eaten, how well are you moving, have you got any niggles, where's your stress levels at. And if you're rating those on a 1 to 10, with 1 being they're in the toilet and they're not good, then guess what? You should question whether you're going out to do the long run that the program says. If those numbers are good and they're high, and you're scoring good on all of those, and you're feeling great, stress levels are low, sleep's been good, nutrition's good, hydration's good, then go and do what it says on the program. If your numbers are consistently low, there's some other things in your life you want to address, but you should find that if your training's going well and you've got a good balance, then your numbers on those scores will be pretty high. You should take control. Another big thing we believe in is you should take control of your program. If it says 5 hours or it says go and do 35k, then yes, you should be good looking to go and do it, but you should question where your own body's at. And if your body's ready to do it, go out there and do it. But if it's not, you should push back at a program and push back at a coach to say, hang on a minute, if I go and do this, I'm actually going to get to the start line in worse nick than if I cut this run in half today and get my energy levels back up.
So it's being common sense, basically, and learning to read your own body and to not feel guilty, knowing when to pull back and when not to pull back. And some days you want to push harder, and that's cool too, if you want to go above and beyond. But it's when you push, when you haven't got it in the tank, that's when the troubles come. That's when the injury, the sickness, the adrenal problems, all of that sort of stuff comes. Speaking from very, very lot of experience. So like I'm dealing, like in the last year, I've been dealing with massive kidney problems. Kidneys aren't working properly, liver's not working, thyroid's not working. And this is because I've pushed to, before Neil came into my life and sorted me out. And anyway, since, because I'm just mad, I've cooked myself to a large degree. And so now I've got a big I'm digging a big hole, you know, having to work hard to get out of the hole. And I'll get there, but it's taking a lot of time to get things back to where they should be, and with my kidneys especially. So just be a little bit careful. Don't push it to the absolute nth degree. If you're out there and it's 35 degrees or something silly and you're really dehydrated and things aren't going good, be sensible, you know. Come back and fight another day. Sounds good coming from someone who's gone through Death Valley and shit, but, you know, I am paying the price for it too, so I don't want you guys to be going through what I've been through in the last year. Yeah.
Right now, I've got one just to finish up, Lisa, is that you've obviously seen some pretty cool places in the world, and I know when you come over here and we hang out and we go and run the peak,
yep,
it's your view is always how lucky we are living over here, how great it is. So all I want to say is to finish, guys, those of you who've done it, you know it's pretty cool out there. Those of you who are thinking about it, don't miss the fact I was lucky enough, I think 3 years ago now, I was part of Project K, and I was mentoring one of the boys from St John's. And one of his goals was to walk it. So we walked it and we were out for 10 hours. And normally when I've done anything like that, I've been more focused on the finish line and I've kind of missed the journey. So I got the opportunity over those 10 hours to see some of the best country you've got in New Zealand, I think. I got the opportunity to sit down a couple of times and look at the views. So the message should be as well, if you are thinking about it, get out there and enjoy it. Don't put too much pressure on, get out there, enjoy the view. Do stop when you get to the top some of the time. Have a look at what you've just done. I know coming up the Smart Peak at the end, I made Harry I was with sit on the bench and look back at what we just achieved. So if you haven't been out there, and especially some of that land is only open at this time of year, get out there and enjoy it and see some of the best country you'll ever see. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
Special.
Yeah, that's good advice, Neil. And if there's anybody sitting there and this is your very first time and you haven't entered yet and you don't know, please feel free to reach out to me, drop me a line on email. I'll send you a few resources for getting your mind on track, because it's so wonderful when people take the leap and they do something completely outside their comfort zone that scares the crap out of them, and just, you know, believe in yourself. It's so important that you push your boundaries, and this might be completely unknown territory for one or two of you sitting there and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing, and I can't do it. Just go and do it. You know, just like the Nike slogan says, just do it, don't think about it, just sign up, do it, and you'll come out the other side with a whole range of new experiences. And, you know, like, it doesn't even matter so much if you succeed or you fail, you grow. You'll grow in this journey. You'll become a better person, a stronger person. The stuff that I've learned from running has nothing to do with running, and all to do with the mindset that I've learned to develop from all the obstacles and the failures and the setbacks and the highlights and the amazing things that I've done and seen. All part of this rich tapestry that then I can apply it in other parts of my life and my business and my personal life. And, you know, a few of you might know, like an example, I had my mum, who's always been my biggest supporter, had an aneurysm 2 years ago, which is a bleed in the brain. And if I hadn't been and done what I have done in my life, then I would never have been ready to handle the situation that she was in. And it's taken, like, I've worked with her for 2 years. It was 2-year anniversary about 2 days ago. And she was in a vegetative state when she came out of the coma. She didn't know who she was. She was a toddler in a woman's body. They said she'd never do anything again. She'd have no quality of life. And I didn't accept that, and I just went hard out, like really hard out. Everything that I learned from ultramarathon running, I applied it in this very real-world situation to her rehabilitation. And that meant, you know, at the beginning, 24/7 care around the clock, moving her every 2 hours. It meant searching the world for therapies and coming up with some answers that were going to help her. And now 2 years later, she's doing everything, reading, writing, walking, talking. We ditched the wheelchair after 18 months, and tomorrow she's going for her license. And that is the biggest joy in my life, being able to take those lessons that I've learned from pushing the body to the absolute nth degree, you know, scaring the crap out of yourself and keeping going. And when people are telling you you can't do something, you use that as fuel. Like the doctors said, they're saying it's a 1 in a million recovery. They've never seen anybody, and especially at the age of 76, come back from a brain injury as bad as hers. And now the doctors are coming to me and saying, how the hell did you do that? I said, every single day I'm with her, 7 days a week for the last 2 years. I've had hardly a day off, working with her in a program that I've had to put together and work it out, staying one step ahead of her. And those are skills that you learn when you're out there running triple peaks, when you're challenging things outside of your comfort zone. That's when you grow. So this isn't just about health and fitness and running, you know, or mountain biking. It's about what you learn as a person and how you're going to come out the other side stronger. So sorry, that's my soapbox. So, you know, pretty passionate about this mindset stuff. So that's that all today, guys.
Yeah. Hello,
Thanks,
Lisa.
Liz.
I'm back again.
Hey, Em.
Thank you very much. I think we'll probably wrap it up for now.
Yep.
So it's nearly everyone's bedtime and they've got training tomorrow morning. So
Hell yeah. So
all right, we're going to do a Facebook Live session with Lisa later in the week, all being well. So look out on our Facebook page. And if you've got any questions you want me to fire at her that you give me a chance to say tonight, let me know on our Facebook page, and we'll might chuck a few curly questions.
probably hear it all again then.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks heaps. Really appreciate the time. I know you're a very busy lady. So.
No, look, good luck everybody, and go hard and be well and look after each other out there too. That's another one. Okay, cheers guys. See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers.